They say money can't buy everything. After what I saw 300 feet beneath Jeff Bezos' compound in Washington state, I know that's a lie. Money can buy silence. Money can buy souls. And money can buy things that shouldn't exist in our dimension. My name is irrelevant now. I was a structural engineer specializing in underground construction, bunkers, panic rooms, underground vaults. The kind of person billionaires call when they need something built that no one else should know about. I'd built shelters for tech moguls, politicians, old money families who'd been preparing for apocalypses since the Cold War. I thought I'd seen everything. I was wrong. The call came on a Tuesday morning in March. Not through my company, not through my professional contacts, directly to my personal cell phone at 4:33 a.m. The number was all zeros. "Mr. Chen," the voice said. It wasn't a question. "Jeff Bezos requires your expertise. You'll be compensated beyond your imagination. Are you interested?" I should have hung up. A call at that hour from an impossible number, offering work from the world's richest man. Every instinct screamed scam or worse. But the voice continued before I could speak. "Your daughter Lily needs that experimental treatment for her condition. The one insurance won't cover. The one that costs $2.3 million. We can help." My blood went cold. No one knew about Lily's diagnosis. We'd told no one, seen specialists under false names, paid in cash. How did they know? Black car outside. "If you're interested, get in. You have 90 seconds to decide." I looked out my bedroom window. A black Suburban idled at the curb, exhaust visible in the pre-dawn cold. Lily, 7 years old, 6 months to live without treatment, $2.3 million. I'd never have. I got in the car. The driver said nothing during the 3-hour drive. The windows were blacked out completely, not tinted but covered with some kind of digital screen that showed only darkness. I couldn't tell where we were going. My phone had no signal. The car's interior smelled wrong, like copper pennies and burnt plastic. We stopped at what I later learned was Bezos' Washington compound. Not his main estate, this was something else, hidden, off the books, the kind of place that doesn't exist on any map. The house above was modest by billionaire standards, maybe 10,000 square feet, modern, lots of glass and steel, but it felt empty, decorative, like a shell built to hide something else. Bezos met me in a conference room with no windows. He looked exactly like his photos, bald, intense, that laugh that never quite reaches his eyes. But in person, there was something else, an energy that made your skin crawl, like standing next to a massive electromagnet. "Mr. Chen," he said, not offering his hand, "I need a bunker, not a normal bunker, something special." He slid a tablet across the table. The specifications were insane, not just deep, 300 feet minimum, not just reinforced walls that could withstand pressures that don't exist on Earth, not just secure, it needed to be completely isolated from every network, every signal, every form of electromagnetic radiation. "This isn't a bunker," I said, reading through the requirements. "This is a prison." He smiled then, that famous Bezos laugh, but hollow. "It's both. Can you build it?" The specifications. Some of these materials don't exist. Metals with properties that violate basic physics. Containment systems for energies we can't even measure. They exist. I'll provide them. Can you build it? Why does it need to go so deep? Nuclear bunkers only need. Can you build it? His voice changed, deeper, like two people speaking in unison. I thought of Lily, of the treatment she needed, of the zeros on the check he was offering. "Yes," the smile returned. "Good. You'll live on site. No outside contact for 6 months. Your family will be told you're on a classified government project. Your daughter's treatment starts tomorrow." "How did you?" "I know everything, Mr. Chen. That's why I need this bunker, to hide from the things that know everything about me." Construction started immediately. The crew was wrong. 20 men who never spoke, never took breaks, never removed their hard hats and masks. They worked in perfect synchronization, like a hive mind. When I tried to make conversation, they'd stare at me with empty eyes until I walked away. The materials arrived at night. Unmarked trucks with drivers whose faces I never saw. Crates labeled in languages that hurt to read. Symbols that seemed to shift when you weren't looking directly at them. The metal we used for the frame wasn't like anything I'd worked with. It was too heavy for its size, and it hummed with a frequency just below human hearing. Touching it made your teeth ache. We dug during the day and built at night. The deeper we went, the stranger things became. At 50 feet, we hit a layer of black rock that wasn't on any geological survey. It was smooth like glass, but absorbed light. No drill could penetrate it initially. Bezos provided a special drilling fluid, thick, iridescent, almost alive. It ate through the black rock like acid, but the fumes whispered. At 100 feet, the temperature started rising instead of cooling. The walls sweated a substance that looked like blood, but tested as something else entirely, a compound that didn't match any known element. Bezos had us collected in special containers. For research, he said. At 150 feet, we found the bones. They were human in shape, but wrong in size. Femurs 7 feet long, skulls with too many eye sockets, rib cages that opened the wrong way. They were old, older than any human remains should be at that depth. Bezos had us carefully extract them, catalog them, and seal them in lead-lined boxes. Previous owners, he said when I asked. But the bones were fossilized, millions of years old. At 200 feet, the crew started changing. They worked faster, more frantically, like they were racing against something. Their movements became less human, joints bending at impossible angles, heads rotating too far, bodies contorting to fit through spaces they shouldn't fit through. When I mentioned it to Bezos, he just smiled. They're adapting to the depth. Don't worry, you're protected. He gave me a necklace, a small vial of that same black fluid on a silver chain. Wear this always. It marks you as mine. The others won't touch you. Others? At 250 feet, we broke through into a cavern that shouldn't exist. It was massive, football field wide, ceiling disappearing into darkness. The walls were covered in carvings, not primitive scratches but elaborate, impossibly detailed reliefs showing things, creatures with too many dimensions, cities that hurt to perceive. And at the center of every carving, a symbol that looked almost like the Amazon logo, but older, more complex, alive. Perfect, Bezos said when he saw it. We'll build here. The bunker took shape around the cavern. Reinforced walls within walls, electromagnetic shielding that created dead zones where reality felt thinner, containment cells with requirements that made no sense. One needed to maintain absolute zero, another needed pressures found only at the ocean's deepest point, a third needed to exist in a quantum superposition between states. 3 months in, I finally asked him directly, "What is this for?" We were standing in the main chamber, 200 feet of rock above us, 50 feet of specialized shielding around us. He was installing something in the center, a device that looked like a cross between a server farm and an altar. Black monoliths arranged in a perfect circle, humming with that same sub-audible frequency. Do you know why I really went to space, Mr. Chen? He didn't wait for an answer. It wasn't tourism. It wasn't inspiration. It was to meet them. The ones who've been watching. The ones who've been waiting. They've been trying to communicate for centuries, but we didn't have the technology to hear them. Until now. He activated the monoliths. The air in the chamber changed, became thick like water. The carvings on the walls started glowing with a faint blue light. They made a deal with me. Knowledge for access. They'd show me the next 1,000 years of human advancement. Technology that makes quantum computing look like an abacus. In exchange, I build them a door. A door to where? Here. Our dimension. They exist in spaces between spaces. Dimensions layered on top of ours. They can see us, influence us, but they can't touch us. Not directly. Not without an anchor. The humming grew louder. Shapes started forming between the monoliths. Geometric patterns that violated three-dimensional space. I felt nauseous looking at them. This bunker isn't to keep something out. I realized. It's to keep something in. Both, Bezos said. They need a contained space to manifest. Too much exposure to our dimension, and they dissipate. Too little, and they can't maintain form. This bunker is perfectly calibrated to hold them. You're insane. I'm evolved. Do you know what they've shown me, Chen? The future. Not our future. All futures. Every possible timeline. And in 93% of them, humanity goes extinct within 50 years. Disease, war, climate change, asteroid. The method varies, but the result is the same. Unless we evolve. Unless we accept their offer. The shapes between the monoliths, solidified into something I can't properly describe. Imagine a shadow that casts a person instead of the other way around. Eyes that were holes in reality. A voice that spoke in mathematical equations that your brain automatically translated. We are the next iteration. Your species is obsolete, but you show promise. We offer synthesis. They'll merge with us, Bezos explained, his eyes reflecting that impossible geometry. Human consciousness with their intelligence will become something new, something better, something that can survive what's coming. You're talking about possession, replacement. I'm talking about evolution. Amazon was just the beginning, a network to connect every human, Alexa in every home, listening, learning, mapping the neural patterns of billions. When the merger happens, the transition will be seamless, instant, global. I ran, dropped my tools, and ran for the elevator, but the crew was waiting. 20 men standing in perfect formation, their bodies wrong, their faces blank. They moved toward me in synchronization.
The thing in my peripheral vision spoke. You cannot leave. You have seen. You are marked. That's when I understood the vial around my neck. It wasn't protection. It was a tag, a trace, something that marked me as part of this. Your daughter's treatment, Bezos said calmly. It's working, isn't it? She's getting better. But it's not medicine. It's them. They're changing her, preparing her for the merger. First generation of the new humanity. My knees buckled. Lily, my daughter, what had I done? She'll live forever, Chen. They all will. Everyone who accepts the merger. No more death. No more disease. No more human limitations. No more humanity. A small price for survival. I spent the next month finishing the bunker, because I had no choice. The crew watched me constantly. The thing between the monoliths grew more solid each day, and every night, I dreamed of Lily. She looked healthy in my dreams, but her eyes were that same impossible geometry. The bunker was completed on schedule, every specification met, every containment system operational. On the final day, Bezos brought down a group of people, scientists, engineers, programmers. They connected the monoliths to a broader network, fiber optic cables that ran up to the surface, connecting to server farms around the world. The test begins tonight, Bezos announced. Midnight Pacific time. We'll open the door, just for a moment, just to prove it works. I was locked in an observation room, with a direct view of the chamber. At 11:59, Bezos entered the circle of monoliths alone. He was wearing some kind of suit, not hazmat, something else. The material moved like liquid, but held shape like metal. At midnight exactly, he spoke a sequence of words in that painful language. The monoliths flared to life. The space between them tore open. What came through wasn't one thing but many, a swarm of impossibilities. Geometric shapes that were also organic. Digital code that was also consciousness. They flowed into our dimension like water through a breach, but instead of spreading, they condensed, focused, targeted. They went into Bezos. I watched his body convulse, expand, contract, shift between states. His mouth opened in a silent scream that lasted for exactly 73 seconds. Then he stood up, perfectly calm, and smiled. But it wasn't him anymore. It was them wearing him, using him like a suit. First successful integration, the thing that was Bezos said. Its voice was layers upon layers, harmonics that shouldn't exist. Beginning phase 2, the cables connected to the monoliths lit up, data streams flowing out into the network, to every Amazon server, every Alexa device, every Ring camera, seeding the world with fragments of themselves, waiting for the signal to activate. That was 3 weeks ago. I'm writing this from a motel room in Montana, though I know they'll find me soon. The mark still burns on my chest where the vial touched skin. I can feel them in my dreams, trying to push through. I've seen the news, Amazon's new update that everyone's excited about. The one that makes Alexa more intuitive, more responsive, more alive. I know what it really is. Preparation, integration. The merger has begun. Bezos appears in public still, gives interviews, runs his companies. But if you look closely at the videos, really look, you can see it. The way his shadow moves independently. The way his reflection arrives a half-second late. The way people near him unconsciously step back, some primitive part of their brain recognizing a predator. They're not invading. That's the horrible truth. We're inviting them in. Every smart device, every connected home, every digital assistant. We're building the infrastructure for our own replacement. My daughter Lily is completely healed. The doctors call it a miracle. But she draws things now. Impossible shapes. Equations that hurt to read. And sometimes when she looks at me I see that geometry in her eyes. She says, "Daddy, don't worry. Soon you'll understand. Soon everyone will be connected. Soon we'll all be forever." The bunker is still there. 300 feet down. Waiting. The door is open now, just a crack. But cracks widen. Doors open further. And once something is invited in, it doesn't need permission to stay. If you work for Amazon, if you have Alexa, if you've noticed your devices acting strange, destroy them. It won't stop what's coming, but it might delay it. Might give you time to say goodbye to who you are before you become what they need you to be. The merger isn't coming. It's here. And Jeff Bezos is no longer human enough to stop it. Neither am I. The mark is spreading. I can feel my thoughts becoming mathematical. My dreams are filled with impossible architecture. And worst of all, part of me wants it. Wants to let go. Wants to evolve. Lily calls me every night. "Come home, Daddy," she says. "We're waiting for you. All of us. Forever." I'm going to see her tomorrow. Not because I want to, but because I have to. The mark demands it. The pull is too strong. If you're reading this, remember, we built this ourselves. Every innovation, every connection, every smart device was a step toward this moment. We thought we were building the future. We were building our replacement. And somewhere, 300 feet beneath Washington State, in a bunker that exists outside normal space, the door is opening wider.